All right, so we are on unit 1.7. Okay, unit 1.7, and we are going to compute with scientific notation. Compute with scientific notation. Megan, can you hit one of those lights? Just one. Thank you. Compute with scientific notation. Can anyone tell me, what do you think the word compute means?
I don't know.
What does compute mean? Take this off.
Goes together.
Close. Say what? You can just leave it there. It's okay. If people need it, they can get it from you in a little bit. Okay, if I asked you to compute 2 plus 3. Solve or get an answer, right? So it's basically just a fancy math, or not even a very fancy math way. Sorry, I have to take these off because they're way too bright on this thing. Okay, a fancy kind of math way of saying do the problem. Okay, but these are going to involve scientific notation, which hopefully you remember from when we learned this before, that it's anything with like the 10 to a power looking. Okay, so first we're going to start with multiplication and division. Multiplication and division. I almost misspelled that, and that would be really sad. Okay, multiplication and division. So, for example number 1, technically this is going to tell you to evaluate. Okay, evaluate 7.2 times 10 to the 3rd multiplied by 1.6 times 10 to the 4th. Right. Evaluate 7.2 times 10 to the 3rd multiplied by 1.6 times 10 to the 4th. And then we're going to say write answers in scientific notation. It's what we learned the other day where
I forgot that.
this is scientific notation. So anytime it has the multiplied by 10 to a power, that means scientific. It's written in scientific notation. So the first thing you want to do is we want to make sure, are they in the same format? Okay, so are they both in scientific notation to start with? They're both in the same format, right? They both have something times 10 to a power, something times 10 to a power. So what you're actually going to do is we're going to pair things up. Okay, you're going to pair up the numbers, so 7.2 times 1.6, and then we're going to pair up the 10 to the power, so 10 to the 3rd times 10 to the 4th. Now, I know that I told you guys that we're trying to kind of get away from using those multiply x's, but instead of using the dot for these, we always use x for scientific notation because there's a decimal point in there, and it's kind of difficult to tell what's the difference between the decimal point and the multiply dot, so that's why we get to still use the x's for these. Well, you can just leave that. Okay, so all we're actually going to do is we're going to put these together. So we're going to do 7.2 times 1.6. So on the side of your paper, I want you to do 7.2 times 1.6. Okay, this is just old school multiplication. Okay, so 6 times 2 gives you 12. Carry your 1. 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 1 is 43. Then put your 0. Move over. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 7 is 7. And if we work this out, we get 1, 1, 5, 2. Now, is 1152 my actual answer?
No.
No. What am I missing? The decimal point. Where should the decimal point go? In the middle. Why should it go in the middle? You need to count the number of decimal places, right? So we had 1 in the first part, 1 in the second part. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. So I need 2 decimal places in my answer. So this is going to become 11.52. Okay, that's my first part. Times, what do I do if I have the same base? What do I do with their exponents? Should I add these or multiply these? Add them. Okay, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more for you guys. Okay, you add these. So 10 to the 3 plus 4 power. Okay, if you simplify this, yes, that is 7. So 11.52 times 10 to the 7th. Now, I only have one more problem here. What's wrong with this 11.52 if I'm leaving things in scientific notation? How many numbers are supposed to be in front of the decimal place? 1. So if I need to move this over 1, am I making it bigger or smaller? Smaller. So what do you think I do with my exponent here? Does it increase or decrease? It's going to increase, actually, okay? Because I'm making this one, I'm dividing by 10, basically. Okay, so I'm taking away a power of 10. If I take away a power of 10 here, I have to add 1 there. So this actually becomes 1.152 times 10 to the 8th power. Okay, 1 times 1.52, yes, times 10 to the 8th power. Yes. Yes, sorry. 1.152 times 10 to the 8th power. Okay, let's try another one like that. Okay, again, I want to try to multiply. So for example number 2, I would like you to try 8.4 times 10 to the 2nd multiplied by 2.5 times 10 to the 6th power. 8.4 times 10 to the 2nd multiplied by 2.5 times 10 to the 6th power. So we're going to split things apart. I'm going to put the numbers together. So 8.4 is going to go multiplied by 2.5. And then I want to group together my powers of 10. So 10 to the 2nd times 10 to the 6th. Okay, do it on the side of your paper, and let's figure out what is 8.4 times 2.5. What did we get for 8.4 times 2.5? 21. Okay, did we get 21? Did anyone get something different? You didn't get that, or you did get that? Okay. So really, this is going to be 21 times 10 to the what power? What do I do with the 2 and the 6?
7, 8.
The 8th. You add them together. Now, remember, I can't have 21, so what do I want to write that as? 2.1. So if I'm taking a decimal place away from here, I have to increase it over here. So this should be 2.1 times 10 to the 9th power. 2.1 times 10 to the 9th power. Question? Oh, you're just stretching. Amber, move up. Sorry. Okay, let's try another one. How about if I give you one with a negative exponent? Okay, for say again? Oh, no thank you. Yeah, well, I'm going to do it anyways. Okay, let's try 2.63 times 10 to the 4th multiplied by 1.2 times 10 to the negative 3 power. 2.63 times 10 to the 4th multiplied by 1.2 times 10 to the negative 3rd. So, start by putting together your numbers. So, 2.63 multiplied by 1.2. And then 10 to the 4th times 10 to the negative 3rd power. 10 to the 4th times 10 to the negative 3rd power. So on the side of your paper, do 2.63 multiplied by 1.2. How many decimal places is this one going to have?
3.
3 decimal places, right. So what do we get for an answer here? 3.156. You have to have 3 decimal places here. So 3.156 times 10 to the what power? If you add 4 and negative 3, what does that give you? The first. So you leave it just like that. Okay, leave it as 10 to the first. Now, this one we don't have to rearrange anything because it only had one number, one digit in front of the decimal place. Because we add 4 plus negative 3, we're adding together the exponent. So since this one was negative, it's basically subtracting.
Why does there only have one thing in the decimal place?
One digit in front of?
Yeah.
That's just how we write scientific notation. There's always one digit in front of the decimal place and then multiplied by 10 to a power. That's just, yeah, it's kind of just a convention, something we always do. Okay, now, hopefully I think we understand how to multiply, okay, and how to deal with these when we multiply. Now, I want to show you how to add and subtract with scientific notation. Add and subtract with scientific notation. Add and subtract with scientific notation. So we are on example 4, I think, yeah, 4. Okay, I would like you to evaluate 6.89 times 10 to the 4th plus 9.24 times 10 to the 5th. 6.89 times 10 to the 4th plus 9.24 times 10 to the 5th. So the first thing you need to do is get the same power of 10. Get the same power of 10. So this one's times 10 to the 4th. This one's times 10 to the 5th. Any ideas? How do you think I'm going to get this to be the same power?
Multiply.
Well, we don't actually want to multiply them all out, but do you think I could change one of these? Could I change one of these to be so that it's either the same? Do you think I could change this one to be 10 to the 5th or 10 to the 4th power? If I made this 10 to the 4th power, would it make it a bigger number or a smaller number? Let's think about it. If I wanted to make this 9.24 times 10 times 10 to the 4th, does that make it, if I want to break down the 5th power, could I change it to be 10 times 10 to the 1st times 10 to the 4th? Is 10 to the 1st times 10 to the 4th, is that equal to 10 to the 5th? This one breaks down, you can make it subtraction, right? Okay? I'm telling you, you can make it subtraction. Now, can I work this problem out? Can I do that? What is 9.24 times 10 to the 1st? If I multiply by 10, what do I really do? Move over the decimal place how many times? 1 time. So this is really 92.4 times 10 to the 4th. Yes, Nathan?
I'm confused because you're just saying stuff and I don't understand what is going on.
Okay, we need to get these to be both 10 to the 4th. You always want to go to the smaller power. Okay, so I need to change them to get a common power, basically. Okay, so I want to change these, get the same power of 10. Go with the smaller power. So if I want to change this to be 10 to the 4th, and I did have 10 to the 5th, 10 to the 5th is equal to 10 to the 1st times 10 to the 4th. Do you understand how I got that part? So I rewrote this here, and since I want the whole thing to be 10 to the 4th, I'm really just going to do the multiplication here. So that gave you 92.4. Now I can bring this down to be 6.89. Hey, my turn. Now I'm going to group things together, just like I did with the multiplication. Okay? So I'm going to group things together. So group the 6.89 together plus the 92.4 together. Then that's times 10 to the 4th. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite these. Now, can I add those together? Can you do 6.89 plus 92.4?
Yeah.
Remember, we line up our decimal places, so 92.4, you always put the bigger one on top. 6.89. Okay, so we're going to leave it just like that. You have to line up the decimal place when you're adding things together.
Oh, it's 92.4?
Yes. It was 9.24, but I changed it. Okay? Then add these together, so that gives you a 9. That's a 2. Carry your 1. So do we get 99.29 times 10 to the 4th? Did we get that part? I know this is new, so follow along with me. We're going to do a couple more, so you'll be okay. Now, can I write an answer like this, Drew? Can I write my answer like that? Can I be done like that? No. Why?
Because there's 2 numbers.
So I need to change it to be how many numbers in front of the decimal place? 1. So if I'm going to move it over 1,
You have to make it 10 to the 4th.
exactly. Okay, so where I want it to where it is 1 place. So it moved to the right. So that increases it to be up 1 power. So 9.929 times 10 to the 5th. I know these ones are a bit confusing. Okay, so I will show you another one for sure.
I thought you caught me off guard, huh?
I did. I really did. Yes, say it again.
I didn't get the exponent part, like how you
Okay, we're gonna practice. Don't worry. I know that these are a little bit difficult, okay? We will practice, I promise. Okay? Let's try another one. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try this one. For number 5. Hey, guys, my turn. Okay? I would like you to add 593,000 plus 7.89 times 10 to the 6th power. 593,000 times 10 to the 6th power. So what power of 10 do I want these to have in common? Amber? The 6th, yeah. So since this one doesn't have a power of 10 yet, I need to give it 1. So I want them to have this same one in common. How do you think I could write 593,000 with a 10 to the power of 6? Right now, what is it? It's the power of what?
Nothing. 1.
It's a power of nothing, right? So what you need to do is, where's the decimal point right now? At the end of it, okay? If I need to move it, I need to give it 10 spaces, or excuse me, 6 spaces. So what you do is you take where it is, I'm gonna move it over 6 spaces. So move it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. I'm gonna rewrite this as 0.593. Do I need to keep writing the zeros?
No.
No. Times 10 to the 6th power. I just changed it from no powers of 10 to a power of 10. Then I'm going to add this together. Excuse me. So we're going to add together to that plus 7.89 times 10 to the 6th power. So now that they have the same power, I'm going to put together my addition part. So 0.593 plus 7.89 multiplied by 10 to the 6th. Can you add these together? Can you add together 0.593 and 7.89? What do you have to remember to do when you're adding things together? Line up the decimal places, right? So make sure you line up your decimal place. If there's anything missing, you just put a 0. So if you add these together, we get a 3, 18, carry your 1, 14, carry your 1, and an 8. You add those together, you should get 8.483 times 10 to the 6th power.